Hi, chat. Hello. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hi. Oh, been a hell of a day. $100 I fell asleep on my couch. Actually, no. I was scouring to try to find a motion filed by the Commonwealth in Karen Reed's case, and I could not find it. So we're kind of running blind tonight, chat. But I'll take that $100. I'm just kidding. You can keep it, Joe. You look like a guy I went to high school with. Like, I 100 fucking percent. Obviously, he'd be my age now. Um, but holy cow, dude, you look like it. Well, he's old as me, so you could probably be his kid. You look 100% fucking like him. That's trippy. That is trippy. And I mean, the guy was actually fine. He was an okay guy, so I was just like, that's pretty neat. Pretty neat. I eat Bojangles. We don't have Bojangles. I got to drive all the way down to Canton, and I'm not doing that. So here we are. Clyde must have harmonica lessons. No, sorry. We're working on stuff. Working on cases, working on doing things. Just woke up to the 81 million vote guy quitting. Yeah, KJ. Yes, if you guys were not aware. 39 from Monterey. Okay, well, you look exactly like the dude I went to high school with. Here in Ohio. Like 100 fucking percent. That's creepy. Anyway, yes, Joe Biden has dropped out of the 2024 race. He is still maintaining his position as president of the United States. I don't know how much longer that's going to go. I have a lot of concerns, and more and more I've had time to think about it, chat, and I had to go drive to Menards and pick something up. I truly think, and I said this before when we were watching it all unfold, I get the feeling that the cabinet came to him and threatened him with the 25th Amendment action to remove him if he didn't quit the race. I 100% think that happened. So basically, he got extorted. It was like a coup. With that being said, I have the feeling in the next couple of weeks before the nomination, they're going to force him out. I think because if that's happened, the next step is immediately apparent and 100% easy to accomplish. You've already pushed him out, and now you move him out, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Access, he should be 25th Amendmented tonight. But here's the problem. He said he was quitting. Doing it now would look real sus. That would look really bad. I think politically, that wouldn't be a smooth move. So, yeah. Nico says, Menards, what is this, a Steel Toe Weekend show? Actually, I had to scrape off some grout that was still on one of the tiles, and I had to go get one of those little scraper blades in the bathroom. We were working on the shower. So did I save big money? I don't know. The thing cost like $2.88. So not really. Third Reelify, yeah, you could call it a palace coup, but I don't know how much of it was a palace coup. Like how much is going on? We don't really know the full dynamics of the White House right now. And that's the problem. There's a lot of uncertainty there. And I'm sure for intelligence services around the world, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. The knives will be out this week, though, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting month because remember, we're 1 month out from the DNC. So just something to think about. They paid Jill off. No, I think they threatened him. They're like, you keep your 10% for the big guy, and we won't remove him right now. The embarrassment of that. But, well, like I said, we shall see. That was pretty big. So, all right. So, yes, we live in very interesting times. Very, very, very interesting times. Yes, and it's going to get all French revolutionary in the Democratic Party. What's going to look more like the Bolsheviks and Mensheviks. There's going to be a war in the Democrat Party coming up. So, anyway, Kamala Harris is currently the front runner everybody has thrown in behind her. But remember, there's a month till the convention, and she could easily fuck that up. Everybody could change their minds. Remember, they're all politicians, so they're all lying scum. And it's all about convenience. Anyways, we're going to keep moving. We're going to keep moving now. Karen Reed. We have been a little while since we talked about her. And we had a lot of things happen in the meantime. And a lot of things have happened in the meantime for Karen Reed herself. So Karen Reed is going to court on Monday. And what's this about? It is about getting a motion to dismiss. And what do we know so far? We know that 5 jurors have come to Alan Jackson and the defense saying there was a not guilty on murder and there was a not guilty on manslaughter, and those were unanimous verdicts. Okay. I'm sorry, there was not guilty of murder and not guilty of leaving the accident and causing a death. Okay, so it was the manslaughter, it seems like people may have been hung up on. And the one thing I want to start off with, and I'm not bringing this up, we also know the identity of one of the other jurors. And according to Turtle Boy, Aiden Carney, we know some information there. So this is really weird that this happened like this. But I get it. Sometimes you might have it there. Is Karen Reed going to be live streamed tomorrow? I don't know. But Karen Reed goes back into court. Hey, Jeff, how you doing? So, yes, you got to... I sent him a DM in the middle of, right after Joe Biden dropped out, and he woke up later. He's like, man, it was 3 a.m. I ain't waking up. So, Jeff, hope you're doing well. We are not going all tonight, chat. We are not. It's Trenton says, did you literally go live right after you sent me the at? No, I saw it. I was on Twitter myself and found it. Miss Mandy says they're going to throw it out tomorrow. Well, let's... I don't know. There's never such thing as a done deal in court. There's never such thing as a done deal. And where I'm going to start with is Turtle Boy. And like I said, it's not meant to make fun of him. There's actually, I think, a bit of an issue here that might be a problem for Karen and the team. Okay. And he says that, I can report with confidence that the foreman is a former police officer and a current physician's assistant for surgeons at Boston Hospital. He was one of the guilty votes for manslaughter. Now, here's an issue. Colleagues of his reached out and said that he was stuck on the pieces of taillight embedded in John's shirt. Okay. He's saying this medical professional apparently ignored the lack of bruising or other injuries below the neck, ignored the testimony of 2 ARCA experts who said John's injuries were inconsistent with that vehicle collision. But it does appear that he does say it's notable that murder 2 was voted down. And that's important because it does sound like Karen Reed is probably at least been acquitted of that. Now, here's the problem for Turtle Boy, and I'm not making fun of him. This is more just a general point. It's just a generalized point here, okay? This whole thing right here, if the officer really said all this, this whole part here about having the tail light and this is what convinced him, this part here, and that he said he didn't believe the ARCA guys, the way that works, yeah, the jurors are allowed to evaluate evidence. They can determine the credibility of evidence. Who's more credible? What evidence is more credible? And then on top of that, the jurors get to do the second thing. So there's credibility, and then they assign weight to that evidence. And they can determine that those pieces of glass are critical in proving that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe. Now, we might look at that and say, oh my God, that's the dumbest thing ever. Yeah, but that's how it goes. I mean, you've heard us talk about this. Steve Gosney, I mean, even Robert Barnes, any attorney will tell you jurors sometimes focus in on the dumbest things that are irrelevant, things you didn't ever intend for them to look at or contemplate. They will do that. And as long as it's within reason, the appellate courts are going to go, oh, well. So I don't know. Like, I know, yes, I agree. I think this guy, whoever he is, being a physician's assistant, whatever, he's completely retarded. Turtle Boy's right. This guy's retarded. But I don't think that's a situation where the court's going to say, oh, the court's not going to overturn it and say, like, she was clearly not guilty. They're done and dismiss it. If a juror had a disagreement, the jurors can disagree. Like I said, that's the issue. That's the issue you have to deal with. And just something to think about. Remember, this is not a done deal. This isn't, there are very rarely. So it's just, these aren't walk-off home runs, chat. None of them are. That you can't ever think they are. You could be confident in your case. But this courts are loath to just dump cases. Judges are very risk averse. And dumping a murder case like this, they want to be reelected. They want to be reappointed. They live in these communities. You can't count on them. You can't count on them. So I'm officially a Turtle writer now. No, like I said, I still disagree with how Turtle Boy's done most of this, but he's brought truth out. I disagree with his methods, but I'll give him credit. He has achieved results. Aaron Hack says, it just means in trial 2.0, the defense focused on the dumbass chain of custody. Here's the problem. That might not work. Remember, you're going to have 12 new people in the box. They might focus on something else from the first trial. You have to be careful. You have to be very, 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 very careful. Because this other group of jurors may focus on something else. It's dangerous. It is hard to know what people want. It is hard to know what people want. It's just something to think about. It's just something to think about there. So I guess I start off with that point. I guess I start off on that point here. All right. I start off on that point just because, like I said, I'm here to give you guys the real answers, not bullshit answers. I give you guys bullshit answers all day long. In addition to all of this, we have the 5 jurors who are in support of everything. We now have another juror who's come out. And it's the affidavit of Juror Doe. Now, for you those who don't remember, Judge Cannoni impounded the jury list, meaning it is not observable to anybody at this point. So this is an affidavit. She's using a pseudonym, Juror Doe. There we go. Juror Doe. She says she's of legal age and has personal knowledge of the facts set forth herein, and that she was a member of the jury seated in the recently concluded trial. I have just retained counsel to represent me. She read the impoundment order entered by Judge Beverly Cannoni on July 8th. As I've read the order, it is scheduled to expire on July 18th unless it's extended. She says that this affidavit is in support of her request to extend the impoundment order. Now, we're going to read this. Guys, it's going to sound like a bunch of bullshit. I can promise you that right now. This is going to sound like absolute horseshit going forward. But it's there. She says, I'm asking the impoundment order be extended indefinitely because I am in fear of my personal safety and the safety of my family. I have read the order and note on the first page that individuals associated with this case have been charged criminally with intimidation. And she says, I am frightened for my safety as a result someone associated with this case has been charged with intimidation. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, when you open yourself up to doing things where the government might arrest you, now you've given them fuel for the fire. Now this juror can run around screaming, somebody's intimidating us. You play into their, and I don't, like I said, I feel like he played into their hands a little bit on this. So I also recall testimony from at least one witness who described being harassed by individuals and her family and being harassed because of their involvement. That was Jen McCabe, where she went off on that. Remember, they noticed those things. Now, once again, I don't approve. He got results, but were the methods the best? This is the result of the methods. This right here is a result of that method. It's now backfiring. But our personal safety will be seriously compromised. During the deliberations, we could hear protesters outside screaming, yelling. Maybe they could. They shouldn't have been able to, though. But like I said, this is all bullshit, but you know what? Guess what a judge is going to say? This is credible. During our jury service, members of the jury would meet at what was supposed to be a secret location to be transported to and from the courthouse by bus. After being discharged on July 1st, we were taken by bus back at what was supposed to have been a secret location where we observed what appeared to be members of the media, including photographers. If that really happened, and now here's the big thing. If that really happened, that should have been reported, and those photographers and those, cameramen and those reporters should have all had show cause. Why are you there outing jury members? I guarantee you there was a specific order not to film them. But somehow they showed up at the secret lot. That never happened, which tells me this is probably bullshit. But once again, this is how it works. You put people in a position where they can manipulate the court. Yeah, this is the problem. You don't make it easy for the bad guys. Don't make it easy for them. When you're in court proceedings, don't give the other side an easy win. Don't give them conduct they can manipulate and twist. Because now they can just keep building on it and they build a stack of crap. Also, So just shut up. Well, I mean, the bigger thing is when you're preparing to do stuff, you must think tactically, sure, but you got to think strategically. If I do this, how's this going to get used? You're. I guess I'll say it like this: when you're dealing with somebody are a bunch of corrupt, scheming, and disreputable sons of bitches, you should really think through your steps and insulate yourself. You don't just do it and say, fuck it. No, you make sure you plan. And then you try to figure out, how would they try to screw me? and you try to anticipate their moves, and you plan to avoid that, or you set up something that will counter it. Belt and suspenders, you have to think ahead. You have to think ahead. That's how you do this. Like I said, I don't disapprove of the results, but the methods leaves things open, and this is one of the results. I was so much in fear on the way home, I pulled over to the side of the road to see if I was being followed. If you're being followed, why would you stop? This makes no damn sense. This is all bullshit. But once again, a judge is going to read this and say, oh my God, this is a scared juror. It's okay, little juror. It's okay. You're okay, little juror, man or woman. Oh, here, what the heck is this? Thankfully, I was not being followed, but that was and remains my mindset. Okay, well, if you were wrong, then apparently you're not correct. Your delusions are not matching reality. If the juror names are made public, we will be constantly threatened and harassed, and there will likely be a physical confrontation at some point. That How do you come to that conclusion? It's an interesting one. That's an interesting conclusion they're going to make. And I think it's funny. I think I think a fair point is here. There are probably people on both sides, I think that they're not being clear, but yeah. Since being discharged from jury service on July 1st, I have read multiple news articles about the case and the attention this has garnered across Massachusetts, New England, and the country. Yeah, well, that's kind of normal. He said there are clearly people who have very strong opinions on the case and about the jurors who deliberated over many days. Yes, I think a lot of these jurors are idiots. So, yes, I agree. I have seen articles, comments to articles, and postings about the verdict saying some very nasty and dangerous things. Some individuals have expressed outrage and anger that the jury did not acquit. Some individuals have expressed outrage and anger the jury did not convict. Now, this right here, this is calculated. At least reading this is a calculated action to make everybody think that, well, it's not just them, this is everybody. So we're wanting this impounded for the sake of all the loonies. I mean, like I said, this is written by an attorney. I will give them credit for executing this in a brilliant manner. I disagree with it. I think it's a bunch of bullshit, but it is. Just yesterday, I read an article in the Boston Globe with the headline, Karen Reed case ended in a mistrial, but the diehards haven't given up. In approximately the 12th paragraph of the article, so not even the first paragraph, the second or the third, 12 paragraphs in, probably not even on the first page, not above the fold. An administrator of a Karen Reed focused Facebook group was quoted as saying, the people who were on the fringe of being interested are now engulfed. The anger level was at a 9 before, and now it's at an 11.5. Now, see, this is something here, and this is not Turtle Boy's fault. This is why you don't fucking make comments about things. Everything out there shut the fuck up. Oh, it's not sharing? God damn it. All right, there. Yes, this is... It sounds like she's regurgitating what Jen's claiming. Yeah, pretty much. It is. It is. So just shut the fuck up. Shut up. And this is almost like It's even ours go to 11.5. Well, why does it go to 11? Because it's one louder. Later in July, the Boston Globe made another interview by the reporter state these people are insane about this case. They don't agree with, they'll try to dox you. That's actually true. That's happening all over the place. I understand the term dox to mean an individual to publicize someone's personal information, including someone's residential address, occupation, business address, blah, 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 blah. Publicizing my personal information in this context exposes me and my family to unwanted and likely surprise. Encounters with strangers who likely have an axe to grind with any juror. I mean, hopefully you can carry a gun in Massachusetts. I've seen social media posts that were very demeaning of and attacking the integrity of the trial judge. Okay. If someone is going to attack a sitting judge, notice how they stretch this now. I say no reason why they would not demean and attack, verbally and physically, a juror who sat on the jury. How do you go from people demeaning and attacking their integrity to getting physically assaulted? That's a hell of a stretch. A hell of a stretch. A hell of a stretch. Yes, and absolutely no normal person is reading 12 paragraphs of any news story. I agree. But once again, people out there have created an environment that gives them the excuse to do this. Um, I understand that there are individuals who are upset that an impoundment order was entered, and they are actively seeking the identity of all the jurors. For example, my attorneys have made me aware of a video post by a blogger. Journalist, whom I understand. Why does it say? At first, he says blogger. I'm like, not it, not me. Who I understand to be in charge of witness intimidation related to this case, speaking about the trial and the jury's inability to reach unanimous verdict. In the video, the blogger initially states he's identified the jury foreperson in the case. Once again, guys, it's not about what you do, it's how you do it. Not only does the blogger state he's identified the foreperson, but also where they live and what they do. A link to this video can be found here. So, in the same video, the blogger demands to know the identity of the, um, not only does the blogger state he's identified it, in the same video, the blogger demands to know the identity of the blank idiot on this jury who did not vote in his preferred manner, and further that. And this is where we're actually going to try to look this up, because I'm curious to see if he actually says this, because if he does, why? Why would you say all this? Why would you say this? Where is... Well, I'm looking right now, and I'm trying to see if there's a... Yeah. All right. Hold on here. I want to make sure I grab the right way. 1878708. So here we go. We actually have this. So we're going to listen to this real quick, okay? Let's listen. See what Turtle Boy says. Let's see if it's even close. Let's see if it's correct. I mean, since an attorney wrote it, he's going to be in deep shit if this is wrong or inaccurate. Let's listen.
I have full faith in the foreman. The foreman is like, he's very erudite. Like the language that he used in his notes, man, those were works of art, weren't they? The foreman is a former cop. Okay, that's the former cop. And you couldn't pick a better juror than this guy. He was a cop in New Hampshire, actually. I know the exact town because I got his LinkedIn. He's the only one of the 12 jurors where I have first and last name 100% confirmed. I have sent him a Facebook message just in case he didn't see it. I sent him a request, a friend request. And this dude, I'm not going to say his name. I will not say his name. We're not doing that. But this dude was a cop for 5 years in New Hampshire. Not saying what town. And he left. He didn't want to be a cop anymore. And guess what he left policing to do? And I like the kind of guys that leave. Like, that's the kind of guy you want. The kind of guy that leaves policing. That's the kind of guy you want. He was not Westwood. So I was wrong about the town. I was told Westwood. He was from New Hampshire. And he was not retired. He's probably my age. And he is a doctor now. Like a surgeon, actually. He's a surgeon. So that's what we're dealing. Like, the foreman's a brilliant person. Let's just put it that way. And the smarter the better. That's the way I look at it. The smarter the better. I just don't believe that anybody like that could. And I saw him every day. He was sharp and, well dressed.
Turtle Boy doesn't speak this fast, guys. I'm speeding it up so we can listen. But let's listen to see if this actually is said anywhere.
And looked like he was paying attention. I think I know he was one of the not guilty. He was one of the not guilty people. So the others on the jury, I don't know. There had to be more than one. That's one thing we heard. He said members of the jury, have reached this conclusion. And I think that, I'm just looking at them. I'm like, who's the fucking idiot? Like, that's what I want to know. I'm just looking at these people like, who is the fucking idiot on this jury? That's what I want to know. Who is the fucking moron who, after hearing the ARCA guys, was like, yeah, Karen Reed did it. I'm 100% positive. Yeah. Lucky Lochran didn't see a body. I'm 100% positive it was Karen Reed. Brian Higgins called Brian Albert in 2:22 in the morning, and their excuse for that was it was a butt dial while he was having sex. But I'm 100% Karen Reed. Sure, Karen Reed did it. Like, who's the fucking idiot that did that? Who, like, seriously, who? And, you shouldn't be doxing jurors. I'm not doxing anyone. First of all, the list is not public. But if you find out names, I can write about that if I want to. You have every right to do that. That is not doxing. That's called reporting. Whoever did that subverted justice. Like, they're fucking, like, they helped cover up for a murder. Like, that, as far as I'm concerned, fuck them. That's what I think. But
okay, sure, I agree. Fuck them. But guess what they did? They dump all the shit in the fucking motion. They don't help them. This is not helping. This doesn't help Karen Reed. I don't see how this helps Karen Reed. And now now this gets real scary. Well, I understand he's been accused of harassing witnesses by organizing crowds to harass them outside of their homes. I'm aware he's made statements to the effect of... Oh, this will load. Murders and those who cover for them do not deserve a life comfortable. While Karen Reed's... I hate when it does that. Karen Reed suffers a fight for the justice of John O'Keefe. If he has stated this, bloggers believe that members of the... you're playing right into their hands, Turtle Boy. Come on. You're playing right into their hands, dude. I want to see you fucking break this open. I want Karen Reed to go free. Doing that shit does not help her. This is the problem. You're doing this stuff and it's kind of backfiring. You've given this scumbag fuck of a juror, this moron who couldn't do his job right, you gave him a bunch of ammunition to go run and hide behind the judge. Like I said, man, I don't think it should have been done that way. You know these guys are scum, then you need to anticipate how the scum is going to react to what you're doing. F.E. stated this blogger believes that members of the jury on which I was served helped cover up for a murderer, and he believes those who cover for murderers are legitimate targets of harassment. I fully expect members of the jury will be subjected to efforts to harass and shame them, with the real very probability some physical confrontation will inevitably occur. Yeah, like you're playing right into their hands. Like, I'm so scared. You're giving them ammunition. My concerns are not limited to a particular blogger to a particular side of this case. I am aware there are other outspoken bloggers, commentators, and other groups of people who wish for a guilty verdict against the defendant. I'm aware there have been physical confrontations between the two sides. Okay, but you're not really worried about them. You keep only citing the one side of this. An example of this is by a reporter. In today's post, she stated she was in court today defending against harassment charge against her in pursuit of a counter harassment charge. You know, yesterday this reporter posted about getting protection from another blogger. While I don't know the facts, it's very evident individuals on all sides have acted irrationally and aggressively over the past few years. Yeah. In light of the mistrial, there is no end in sight of this irrational behavior, which clearly continues today. Jurors will undoubtedly be subject to harassment and likely physical confrontations. My affidavit should not be interpreted as indicating how I or any other juror voted or how I feel any other juror feels about this case. Yeah, but it's pretty clear you probably were guilty. If you were not guilty, I think you'd be cool. I'm just saying. That's just me guessing here. I'm just guessing here. Every member of the jury, regardless of how they voted, is likely to face backlash from a segment of the large portion of the public who intensely followed this case. I wish to remain anonymous, and I bring this motion on behalf of myself and any other juror who does not wish. Well, I don't see how that's valid here. You don't know if anybody else wants it. It's just you now. It was an honor to serve on the jury. It was also a significant sacrifice of time, which I understood and anticipated when I was selected. What I did not anticipate, however, was the likelihood that I and other members of the jury would become targets of intense public scrutiny and likely harassment campaigns strictly due to the outcome of our private deliberations. I find that very hard to believe. If the names are made public, I will be subject to nonstop requests for comment about the deliberations. I would prefer not to have to respond to these inquiries. Well, you can always decline. However, what I fear is I will not only be subjected for interviews, but I will be targeted and harassed because of what I did or did not do on that jury. Hmm. I fear that verbal harassment will likely lead to physical confrontation and physical harm. I am not prepared or equipped to anticipate and prepare for any surprise personal attack. Um, this is just ridiculous here. More importantly, I feel I will not be able to protect myself and my family. Signed under the penalty of perjury this 16th day of July, Juror Doe. And Juror Doe is then sent through her attorney, Andrew DiCenzo, to all these people. Um, so the Attorney General, Adam Lally, Yannetti, Jackson, and then Martin Weinberg. That's one of the other new attorneys they're bringing on. So it's who they're sending it to. I mean, it's all bullshit. That's the thing here. This is all bullshit. I don't doubt it for half a second. I mean, that's what I mean. Just like the amount of time you can, as soon as you get a stopwatch, it's still bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I 100% believe that's a bullshit thing. The problem is not only Turtle Boy, but people on both sides. Well, people on the Karen Reed side, you guys have played into this. You guys have played into this. You're making it easy for them. Like, why would you do this to yourself? Why would you do this to yourself? Why would you do this to yourself? I just don't get. I just don't get. I just don't get it. I just don't. So Ariel saying the attorney of that motion is friends with the McCabe's on Facebook. Not a surprise. Once again, they're bad. I understand. The McCabe's are bad people. The Alberts are bad people. They're all a bunch of murderous scum. Cool. You have to then anticipate what these conniving murderous scum are going to do. Instead, you just walk down, this isn't like a fist fight where you walk up and shake their hand and go, oh, shucks. And then they start throwing mud on you and you're like, what? This isn't fair. You have to anticipate this. Julie's saying at the same time, is it bad if it's sealed? Yes. That information should be made public. And honestly, that juror is the only one who can speak for themselves. That juror is the only one who should be entitled to protection. If the rest of them want protected, then they need to come in and file their own motions. I don't think it's appropriate to blanket everyone else with that. But this is the problem when things like this happen. You make it easy for the bad guys to do bad guy things. Well, you can't help the bad guys out and then go, oh my God, the bad guys are taking advantage of this. That's the problem here. That's the problem here. That's how I look at this. I just, oh, I can't, I don't know why you would do it that way. I don't know why you would do it that way. So, oh, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Yeah, LA, you're right. Without Turtle Boy Karen, we would not have the support she needs. You're 100% correct. Turtle Boy has done a lot. Like I said, I appreciate his results. He got results, but the way he gets those results causes just as many problems, and they're causing problems. If you know this information, play that shit close to the chest, man, and fucking dole the cards out as you need them. Like a waving around screaming, I got all the receipts on everybody all the time. Like, y'all best watch out. That doesn't, you're also tipping the enemy off. You've got all the info. You got the goods. Now they can backtrack and cover their ass. Hold that shit close to your chest. Don't talk about it. The strong move quiet and the weak start riots. Okay? Fucking Memphis Bleak said that. The strong move quiet, the weak start riots. Move forward with all that gear you got. Hold on to it. Then when it's time, boop, 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 you start throwing cards on the table and they can't react. They can't back around it. So I'm just saying, like, because now we've got all these problems. Now you've got to juror around screaming about juror intimidation. So that's all I'm trying to say. Like, you don't when you're going to ambush somebody and crush them, you don't run around talking about how you're going to fucking wipe them out. I got the goods. When we go into court, they're toast. If you can get away with hiding stuff in your pocket, you wait till it's time. So that said, though, Kieran Reed is still an innocent woman on every level, and that's the tragedy here. Kieran Reed is like 10,000% innocent, not just 100%. She's like 10,000% innocent, completely clear of this in any meaningful way. I mean, it's not even clear she committed DUI at this point. Kate says, can that stand in the future? The person hasn't experienced it personally. Well, they're saying they experienced it. That juror has to come and say, I was scared. All it takes a juror to go, I was scared. And judge is going to go, okay, you were scared. Boop. Like that's all it takes. That's all it takes. It's just they're playing right into the bad guys. The bad guys have a game plan and they're literally building it, and they're building it off of things you've done. That's the problem here. That is the problem. That's all I'm trying to say. There's ways to do it. There's ways you can do things. And that is something, I guess I'll say, as an attorney, I've had to work with clients on. You work with clients on this. Like, okay, there's a problem in front of you. How do we address it? Can we defeat the problem? Can we kill it? Can we wipe it off the map? Can we reduce the problem to like it never even happened? Sometimes, yes. Okay, if we can, we do. Not every time. There's other times where, okay, the problem's still here. I can't get rid of it. You have to coexist with it. Okay, so how do you live around that problem? How do you operate around it? Because if it's not going away, it's a reality you have to deal with. And if you can operate around it and avoid it, well, you avoid new problems that eventually you could turn around and maybe address it and beat it later. But for right now, you have to, it's like a hero's journey. You know, it's the beginning. You got your ass kicked. And now the big bad guy's coming after you. Okay, well, now you have to hide. You have to learn how to train again. You have to learn how to fight. You have to learn the way of the warrior. Find your path back. Get your journey back to becoming the hero again. And then you get to slay the demon. You know, you don't just get thumped and then turn around and start fighting the demon again. You're dead. I'm just trying to say, as part of an attorney, your job is to help you think, how can I avoid the issues? What are the pitfalls? What are the people you think are a bad guy, your opponents? What are they going to do? Okay, you do X, you do move. What's their counter move going to be? Can they do something to this move? Okay. Can they do something to this move 10 steps down the road? Can they just lay back and let you walk into an ambush? Let you walk deeper, and then bam on the back, and now you're trapped. Can they do that? You have to think tactically, yes. But it's almost as important, if not more important, you have to think strategically. If you think strategically, the tactical side of it kind of makes sense. Strategic, looking at it from 10,000 feet. If you can figure out the moves from 10,000 feet in the air, well, it becomes very apparent. If I need to make that reality happen when you're looking at 10 feet in front of you, well, I need to do it to match. So just trying to say. Just trying to say there. And what the heck? Hold on here. Brad is saying, I'm not saying get a ladder, get on the roof. Katie says trial and jury strategy fascinating me. But here's the thing. This is just legal strategy. And this isn't even that. It's problem solving. Like you're in an HOA and you've got some asshole neighbor. Okay. You're in a church and like your board of elders has a dickhead on it and you're on the church board, or you're in the PTA, or you're in your softball team, or your kids soccer team, and you're dealing with some dickhead on it. This is how you handle it. I've got a problem. What's my goal? How do I make that happen? And sometimes you have to live with the problem. How do I accommodate living with that problem? Sometimes that's all you can do, but you have to plan. So that's all I'm trying to say. If you plan it right, you can help yourself. What I'm saying is you need a ton of drones and a ton of glide bombs. That's exactly it. Yes. There aren't many problems a 500-pound glide bomb can't fix. Oh. All right. Anyway, that is where Karen Reed is. And right now, Karen Reed is facing the biggest issue here. And it's about whether or not Judge Cannoni did the right thing. And what was the right thing ultimately? We made a new poster for Lady Boone. Yeah. We covered Sarah Boone last night, guys. That's very interesting. Oh my gosh. Hold on here, guys. All right. Anyways, hello, Hella. Sarah's a hidden talent, yes. LA says, what sucks in Massachusetts, lawyers cannot contact jurors. That's the rule everywhere. I can't go contact jurors. Even if I have their information. If I went and knocked on their doors, oh Lord, child, no. 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 Let's say we had a trial. And let's say you had a trial and you lost and you wanted to find out. Like you want to send them a questionnaire. It's like, hi, could you please, I'm just trying to get some information, figure out what happened. You know, those jurors are gonna be like, oh my God, the attorneys are trying to ask me what happened. Ah! And then you get grieved to the bar for contacting jurors. No, you don't ever do it. You only send them thank you letters because they're like, oh my God, it's passive aggressive intimidation. Ah! No, you don't. You don't get to contact jurors. They can contact you. Now, that's why at the end of a trial, you say, if anybody would like to contact me, please. Or at the very least, if you want to contact me at another date and time. You know, one time I had a juror come to my office like 2 days later because he had to go to work he had to go to take care of his family. He had to work the next 2 days, but he had was Friday off. And he comes in my office. I made sure there were people around sitting there, like people in the office. Remember, like I said, I rent my office from another guy. I made sure we sat in front of his secretary and talked. Because I never want him, he came into my office. I don't want him 20 minutes from now running to court screaming, oh my God, he was in his office and I was locked in a room with him and it was so scary. No, nope. I could be like, that person sat there and watched the whole thing. Like I said, there's ways you do things that you don't set yourself up for failure. So, they can in South Carolina, Murdaugh's lawyers were knocking on door to door. Yeah, sure, some places, but don't go doing that in Ohio. Don't go doing that in Massachusetts. A lot of places I would never recommend that. Brad says, can't you give them business cards? No. I have had jurors ask me for business cards. Like, can I get your card? Sure. But you don't just give them out. If they want one, you will give them one. You don't get, no. I would never just forcibly give it to them. That's not a good idea. So ultimately, I think there might have been a bit of an issue. And I feel like, and I didn't hear, and I think this is an issue that when Judge Cannoni did the mistrial, She didn't solicitate from anybody about what happened. But the problem is they didn't jump up and scream, Your Honor, you didn't ask us about that. I think I think that might be a bit of a problem. They didn't say, wait, this is where when something happens, even at the end of a trial, you have to stand up and be that guy. And you're like, wait, whoa, judge, we need the record preserved here. We object right now the way you've done this. That's where I think it has to happen. I think they run into a bit of an issue there. I like to hope the arguments they've made about the judges doing it too quick for them to respond is fine. But I think even then, that's still where you don't generally try to think, oh, we'll worry about it later. No, there's never any later. It's always now. You are living in the now. We object, we object, we object, we object, we object. Even if she's walking up the bench like that judge did in Arizona for the George Kelly trial, you're like, Your Honor, we object. We wish to have this made part of the record. You dismiss the jury sua sponte without consulting us about the mistrial. We demand to have the right to know under the Tui and Rodriguez, what was the status of it? Had they acquitted on any counts? You go through all of that and you don't. And Porcelain Thunder, here's the problem. You still make the record right then. You don't wait to make the record. You make that record right now. If somebody else does something, you object immediately. And I think that's going to be a problem. I think there's a very big problem for them. She'd already done that. Your Honor, we object to what you just did. Stop it now. As soon as you can object, you object. You don't try to wait. And I think waiting may hurt Karen Reed here. The whole trial's an embarrassment, and Bev was an awful judge, sure. But you still object as soon as you can. It's not fair otherwise. He did object vociferously about the jury form, sure. And that was the right thing. And then when it comes to, I sent the jury, Your Honor, we hadn't have a chance to talk to him. We object to what you just did. Doesn't mean anything. It can't stop it, but you object, you preserve it. You're preserving the record. You're preserving the errors. That's why you do it. That's why you do it that way. And it's really an issue of what did the note actually say? Because we haven't seen the note. There was no, I don't think anybody saw the note except Judge Cannoni, unless the other side saw it. I don't think the attorneys did. But there was no discussion about what happened. Did we reach an agreement? Did we do any of that stuff? I don't, once again, it's Matt B says, is it okay to object while the judge is speaking? No, but you say immediately, Your Honor, we object. We need to place things on the record. Your Honor, the court can't be adjourned. We have to. This is where you say, Your Honor, I need to establish a record. Please put us back on the record. We have a lot of things to do. Yeah, she read it, but I don't know if anybody else ever saw it. So I don't know what it actually says. And I don't know if the defense actually knows what it says. The judge fucked up more than the lawyers, sure. But they still have to do their job. I'd like to hope that it doesn't become an issue, but it could. It could very easily become an issue. You snooze, you lose is a very common thing in court. You don't want to be snoozing. Because that means you're losing. So, it's really going to come down to this, and I hope they get these jurors there. Cargo pilot guy, we'll get to this in a minute. That's actually a really good question. We'll talk about that at the end. How could they trust her on anything? I don't know. Ruby says, could you do an interlocutory appeal? Sure, but remember, you're doing an interlocutory appeal, and this was a month ago. That's the problem. That's the problem. They've waited so long now, it's not interlocutory anymore. You can make interlocutory what this judge says, but they very likely could agree, hey, you snooze, you lose. Why didn't you appeal 20 days ago? Otto says, but will they ever get 12 jurors to find her guilty? I don't know. They might. That's the risk of a second trial around. That's a risk of a second trial. Phillips says, it seems like a judge could screw up 99 times out of 100 and be fine, but if a defense attorney screws up 1 out of 100, they're boned. Yeah. Yep. Welcome to criminal defense work. The government is always going to protect the government, and they'll always say the government did it right. If they can find a way to blame anybody else, they will. Tiffany says, what's an interlocutory appeal? An interlocutory appeal is where you appeal immediately up to the appellate courts, so the next level courts. In this case, it'd be the intermediate courts of appeal. And you'd say, Your Honors, what Judge Canody did was wrong. She should have pulled that jury. We demand she do the right thing and uphold the law. And the Court of Appeals take a look at it and say, yeah, we agree. Or they'll say, yeah, we don't. But you should have done it right then and there. So. I believe they said they didn't see the note until it was read in open court. Well, the way it was read leaves a lot of ambiguity. The way Judge Canoni read the note, it's not clear. So I think Karen Reed has a lot of arguments. I think she'll win. I really do. I think Karen Reed will win going forward, but it's going to be tough. Yeah, I mean, I think Judge Canoni fucked it up. I think she did. I think she completely screwed it up. I think Karen Reed's got a bum rap this whole time. And why am I listening to myself? I think she's gotten a bum rap the whole time. I don't think it's been fair to her at all. Haley says, that note gets scanned into the record. Yes, that note is preserved. That note is an exhibit that goes into the court record because let's say Karen had been convicted and she appeals. All that paperwork goes up to the Court of Appeals because you might sometimes when the jury asks a question, there is no agreement on what has to be said. Sometimes the jury asks a question where the defense or the defense never agrees, saying, no, that's not right. Okay, well, you object, but eventually the court has to give an answer. And you still object, and then you can appeal and say that was an improper jury instruction. And then the Court of Appeals is going to read it, and then they'll look at what happened, they'll look at your arguments, and they'll say, yeah, this was wrong. This is how it shouldn't have happened. Boom. We come back down for a new case. So, yes, it's part of the record. It doesn't get thrown away. Porcelain Thunder says the whole thing is on video. That's preserved enough. Well, that's not. It's not preserved enough. Remember, it's the stenographer or the lady speaking in the steno mask or the lady typing on the computer. That's your record. Chris says the fact you have to preserve the record when a mistake happens just shows how messed up our court system is. Well, no, it's always been that way. Because otherwise, you'd where am I looking? What parts are you looking at? What was wrong? Well, the whole thing? Well, no, it's specifically what was wrong. That's always been a part of the legal system forever. That's not a new thing. Joseph Houghton saying there's a steno mask now. Yeah, in the Karen Reed case, you saw that lady looked like she was wearing an oxygen mask, like she's getting ready to bomb Berlin. That's called a steno mask. Instead of having a court reporter typing away on a little machine, she's speaking into a mask, and that mask is working into a computer with some AI, and she's speaking everything onto the record, and it's correcting it, and then she'll listen to it. She'll listen to the recording and make sure it came out right, and yeah, that's the record. Yeah, it looks like a big CPAP, sure. It's a nut cup, admit it. No, it's not. It's not from a supporter. It's not from a jockstrap. No. No, that's not. God, you guys are ridiculous. Absolutely not, chat. No, 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 no. So, yeah, Joseph, there's different ways courts do it. And even when that court reporter's typing things out in the little keypad, it's in this gibberish shorthand that you can't read. They have to decipher and then into English. They have to translate it in English and then format it and then give it to you. So, she did the same thing in the Aaron Hernandez trial with Jose Baez. Well, that is the new way of this happening now. That's kind of the newer trend. You're going to have stenomasts instead of court reporters. We're kind of in that point where we're starting to see more and more of, cars on the road and less horse and buggy. Are you going to cover this if it's live streamed? I will cover it. I probably won't be around for it to be live streamed, but I'll cover it later in the day. I've got to go out and do some things, so I will not be around. But later in the afternoon, yes, we will. So I hope that answers your question. Access is a very massive cup. Oh. Hell is saying those things must be gross. I'm sure she has the ability to and I'm sure she does, takes a alcohol wipe and it's like when you go to the eye doctor or anything you have to touch at the doctor's office, what do? They wipe it down so it's clean after it's used. You guys are being ridiculous. You can wipe it all down and it's clean. I mean, we're not flying the space shuttle here, guys. We're not flying the space shuttle. I think it's called the COVID cup. Ew. The accuracy is actually better with the mask. Yes, there is and that's more of AI getting better and better and better and better and better and better and better. And AI is getting better at leaps and bounds. AI is learning. Yes, it's able to do more and more translation and catching things properly. So it's a good news. So germs are good for your immune system, yeah. John Coleman says, not the hospital is on a military post. Okay, well, that's different. I mean, that's the... Oh. I bet the mask makes for funny aging wrinkles. Oh my God. You guys. Please. Please. Oh my gosh. Just makes me want to oh. Just ridiculous. Ridiculousness this is. Oh. The mask is not for huffing copium. Stop. Oh. Guys are ridiculous. All right. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, good luck to Karen Reed. I think I'm hoping she'll win. John Coleman saying, tell us a dirty joke, Sean. I need a laugh. You want a dirty joke? Pig fell in the mud. There you go. You want to hear another joke? The pig took a bath with Bubbles. You want to hear another dirty joke? Bubbles was the name of another pig. You got two. That's two for you. So, you got you two. I got you two. All right. Now, cargo pilot guy, you brought this up, and since we're in between stories, I'll address this. Couldn't the president fire all of his cabinet if the cabinet's trying to 25th Amendment him? They're going to say he's crazy. We don't recognize his firing. So think about it. If somebody's got Alzheimer's and they try to fire, or they I'm removing you from the will, and I'm removing you from the will, and I'm moving you from the will. and you're the attorney. You're no longer on the will. You can't administer it. But they're clearly lost their mind. They're not allowed. You have to have competency, and they could say he's not of the sound mind to do that. So they could attack the competency of everything. So that's the argument they would probably make there. That's a very good question. Oh, thank you for asking it. All right, and then this is coming up this week, guys. They call it the Black Swan murder, but I don't get it because it's not like I don't know why. Like, it's just not. I don't know why they call it that. Because, like, I get it, she's a ballerina, but you know, it's unless she did Black Swan, it doesn't make any sense. Why would they call her like the ballerina butcher or the butchering ballerina? That would make like I think that's better because like a Black Swan, typically like a Black Swan event, it's something that's rare and it has severe consequences beyond anything you could predict. Extremely uncertain with like that's normally when I think of like the Black Swan murder. It's like, what happened? Oh, she shot her husband to death. I'm like, why don't you call her the ballerina butcher? It makes more sense, but really because he was shot. I get that. I get it, but I'm just saying. It's probably play on Black Widow. Yeah, I get that, but once again, it's just like some of these don't work too well. And I remember the first time I saw this, I thought it was Ashley Banfield, the lady on Court TV or whatever it is now, and I was like, "Whoa, shit, she committed murder, damn." The ballerina butcher, that's why you call her the butchering ballerina. I don't know. Hold on, some other YouTubers calling me out. Okay. Well, you go take care of that, Kimbo. Was it Cyrax? Oh, no, in the movie The Black Swan, the girl had mental issues. Ah. All right, anyway, we're going to keep going here. So Ashley Benefield is standing murder for the 2020 murder of her husband. Ultimately, it'll be up to a jury. Now, what happened? So it's in Manatee County, and yes, if you are from Florida, there is a Manatee County, like the manatees, like the sea cows. You might be confused if I ever go swimming. You're going to be like, oh, no, there aren't manatees in Lake Erie. That's just me going for a dip. So supporters and friends held signs for her and rallied for her. So they are getting ready to go to trial. This is her. She faces charges of second-degree murder for the death of her estranged husband, Doug Benefield. So what they say happened is on September 27, 2020, that she ran to a neighbor's home and said she had been attacked by her husband and shot him and killed him. He was found on the floor with a bunch of bullet casings. Now, he had been shot twice, and there was no evidence of a struggle or abuse, and he was facing away from his wife at the time of the shooting. Now, remember, those are all factors. Can you still shoot somebody who's not facing you and still have self-defense? 100%. But all those things start adding up, and it starts making it harder and harder and harder to make those arguments. So the jury selection starts Monday morning. 500 jury summonses have been sent out. So here's the thing. We're not going to cover jury selection. I ain't got time for that. I paint drying is going to kill me. So the defense is that Ashley Benefield was defending herself from an abusive husband. And the prosecutor's theory is she was doing everything in her will to keep their daughter from him, and he has the right to see his daughter. And I'm sure it's probably a little bit of both. I'm sure these guys were both antagonistic to each other. I'm sure these guys both had mental health issues at the end of the day. but it's about who's, which one of these people had the right to do what they were doing. And the attorneys, this isn't their attorney, but this is an attorney watching it saying, we're going to see two competing theories on what happened. And it's going to be up to a jury to determine whether or not she acted in self-defense. Now, why is this important? Because she has already been through a stand your ground hearing in Florida. And guys, in Florida, the stand your ground hearing is the way you attempt to allege self-defense at a pretrial hearing and have the court dismiss the case. She already had one of those, and the judge denied her stand your ground motion. She lost it. That doesn't mean she's precluded from bringing self-defense. It's just based on the presentation of evidence. There wasn't such a clear-cut case. The court dismissed it right away. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happened. Because in those hearings, people have to testify, typically, especially in Florida. So it's going to be very, very interesting. We don't have, there's probably a little more to talk about, and we'll talk about that coming up this week, but that's a preview of what we're looking at. Otto says, I know a person who's testifying in this trial. Wow. That's pretty cool. And then Hobby Kilvian saying, that manatee in Lake Erie has a nice beard. Yes. Well, manatees have beards. They have like big mustaches. Nick Muse sentencing is this week. Yep, it is. Yep. And that's not going to end well. Ariel says they don't have those hearings in Wisconsin, right? I don't think so. But did Sarah get a stand your ground hearing? No, I don't think she did. Manatees also have orgies. Oh, no, that's not good. Scott Wade says this chat is for engagement only. Well, thank you, Scott. Popcorn is saying, is it smart to testify in a stand your ground hearing in Florida? There might be times where it is. This is where you have to work with your attorney and a Florida attorney. I mean, we've heard it happen. People have won stand your ground hearings. So yeah, sometimes obviously it worked. Sometimes it hasn't. It all depends. It all depends. That's why you have to work with a competent and licensed attorney in your jurisdiction. But yeah, Nick Muse sentencing, I mean, that guy, he's going away, sadly. I mean, that's the sad part. I mean, especially when he testified, he's sitting there talking about his little puppers. I mean, that was like the worst part. He's like his little puppy, he's talking about his baby, and it's like he's probably never going to be able to see his dog again. So sad. So sad. I still think, all those people that came after him got what they had coming. Luke G says, I don't know when the body cam's already been here. You just missed it. We watched it like 20 minutes ago. Sorry. You missed it. Oh. Matt B says Lamau. No, I'm not laughing. It really happened. Julia saying, so this is like the popcorn movie shooter. Yeah. Where she could be successful despite not being previously successful. Yeah. The guy remember that old guy in the movie theater with the popcorn? He had a stand your ground hearing. He lost. And then he went to trial and he won. John Coleman saying, no, it wasn't released. I'm being a smartass. No, it didn't come out. Like I said, you just missed it. It was 20 minutes ago. No, it's not, guys. It's not there. I don't know at this rate it's coming out. I don't know when. It's like waiting for Duke Nukem forever. It's going to take forever, guys. Or when people were trying to do like GoldenEye Source. They're trying to work GoldenEye off the Source engine for Half-Life. It took forever. Yes, Curtis Reeves was his name. Thank you, BBB. Thank you. That's his name, Curtis Reeves. And I remember that. Like, it's still, like, I still remember that. Those guys, it was like idiots colliding in that case. So, that is actually it for us Juror 13 says that's mean. That's far from the meanest thing I've ever done on here. Huh. Hmm. Oh. All right. What else do we have coming up this week, guys? So we have the Ballerina case. We also have we got to start getting caught up on Delphi and Richard Allen. A lot's happened there. And then we've like I said, I'm trying to work on some stuff for Young Thug. Hopefully we can have some interviews this week. I think it'd be a lot of fun. And yes, the Secret Service hearing is Monday, tomorrow morning. I actually looked at my schedule. Maybe. I'm going to have to see what time it's on because I don't know if it's being televised. I can't find it. At least there's nothing up on YouTube yet. If it's available, I will watch it. Benjamin Lewis says, we pulled one out with a rail dry dock and had to lower it back in the water. It was funny but serious. It's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern, most likely. Okay, well, I might be able to watch it then. I don't know. The problem is I've got stuff I got to do tomorrow, so we may have to watch this a little bit later in the day. Because those hearings could drag on for hours and hours and hours. And as we covered earlier, along with the Joe Biden stuff, the Secret Service really was not prepared for anything. They didn't interact with local law enforcement at all. They did not have anything ready to go. So, yeah. So that is it, guys. We are all caught up tonight. We had a big, fun earlier show, and now we have this other little one. Can the missus potentially cover it? I'll talk to 2.0, but that's her call. I know she has to work, guys. She works during the day. She works, so probably not. But I'll be home in the afternoon, and I'll be able to take care of stuff. Just I won't be in the morning. I'm going to be occupied. So, let me just check my calendar real quick. Where are we looking at here with stuff? Okay. Did you end up telling 2.0 about the towns that got renamed? Yes, I did. I did. So that's it, guys. That's it for tonight. And I would say just remember until next time. Karen Reed. And I say, just because you did them, you're guilty. Yeah. Karen Reed, 100% innocent. 10,000% innocent. She should walk out of court tomorrow a free woman. Probably won't. This is going to be the long haul for her, but she should walk righteously tomorrow. But like I said, I'm pessimistic as part of the job, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. So take care, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow in the afternoon. And we'll get on top of everything that's out there. So take care, everybody. Be well, and just remember, these are interesting times we live in. Interesting times. I mean, like, there's some crazy stuff going down that probably won't happen again for another generation or two. Just remember to take a deep breath, take it all in, and don't do anything rash. One way or another. This is not the time to despair. You know, when there's instability, that's some of the best time to advance and find that seam, find that crack, and just take advantage of it. So take care, you guys, and good night.
Weapons, blacksmithing, and models of planes, esoteric works, and even some trains. Much merriment had while drinking White Claws, tips on hunting, and even talking the law. Whatever you do, just don't talk to cops, even when they nab you on illegal stops. Just 'cause you did it doesn't mean you're guilty. But please talk to a local attorney. Was that the fat guy